Two names, one silent move, and the SEC never saw it coming. While everyone doubted Alabama's transition, Elijah Haven and Kenneth Simon were quietly changing everything. An elite quarterback shifts gravitational pull. A linebacker recruited from rival territory sends a message no ranking captures. This isn't coincidence. This is architecture. But what exactly is being built in Tuscaloosa right now? Subscribe to the channel. Tell us in the comments where you are watching from. Every comment gets read. Stay until the end, because we will open a full discussion on today's topic. Now, let's start with the first domino. Let's be honest, nobody expected this. When Nick Saban walked away from Alabama in January of 2024, the reaction across college football was immediate. Programs started circling, coaches started whispering, recruits started reconsidering, and the national narrative shifted almost overnight. Alabama was suddenly vulnerable. That was the story everyone decided to tell, and for a while, the numbers seemed to back it up. The recruiting class rankings dipped. The certainty that had defined the program for over a decade started to feel less certain. Questions about Kalen DeBoer multiplied by the week. Could he recruit at this level? Could he hold the room? Could he keep Alabama dangerous? Those were fair questions. But here's what those questions missed. They assumed Alabama was reacting. It wasn't. Think about what Kalen DeBoer inherited. Not just a roster, not just a staff. He inherited the weight of the most dominant program in modern college football history. 16 years, 6 national championships. A recruiting machine so powerful it changed the entire landscape of the sport. That's not a job description, that's a burden. Most coaches crumble under that kind of pressure. The fan base expects instant results. The media measures every move against a legend. The recruits are watching everything. And yet, DeBoer didn't panic. He didn't overhaul everything. He didn't make dramatic declarations. He didn't flood the airwaves with promises he couldn't keep. He went to work, quietly, methodically, with a patience that frankly a lot of people mistook for weakness. That was a mistake. Now let's talk about Elijah Haven, because this is where the story really starts. Haven is a 2027 quarterback prospect. And before you skip past that timeline, stay with this for a second, because the timeline matters more than most people realize. Recruiting a quarterback in 2027 means Alabama is not thinking about next season. It means Alabama is thinking about the next era. Elite quarterbacks don't just win games, they define programs. They become the face of a fan base, the centerpiece of an offense, the reason other elite recruits pick up the phone and listen. When a program lands a quarterback of Haven's caliber, everything downstream changes. Wide receivers start paying attention. Offensive linemen recalibrate their lists. Defensive stars decide they want to be part of something being built. The gravitational pull shifts. That's the real significance of Haven's commitment. Not the ranking, not the stars. The gravitational shift, and Alabama just pulled it. Here's something that gets lost in the noise of recruiting coverage. Programs don't win titles in the offseason. They don't win them on signing day. They win them because of decisions made 3, 4, 5 years before the confetti falls. Saban understood this better than anyone. That's what made Alabama different. It wasn't just the talent, it was the architecture, the long-term thinking, the refusal to build for next year at the expense of the year after that. And right now that same logic is showing up again. Haven as the future signal caller, a 2027 piece in a blueprint that extends far beyond the current roster. That's not desperation recruiting. That's program architecture. And if you've been watching Alabama for any real length of time, you know exactly what it looks like when this program starts laying foundation. But Haven is only half the story. The other half is where things get really interesting. Kenneth Simon, linebacker, physical specimen, the kind of modern defensive prototype that every major program in the country wants in its building. Explosive off the line, instinctive in coverage, the type of player who makes an offense nervous before a single snap. But here's the part that changes the entire conversation. Simon's roots run directly through Tennessee territory. Let that land for a second. Tennessee, one of Alabama's fiercest historical rivals, a program that has rebuilt its own momentum, found its own recruiting identity, and made serious noise about reclaiming its place in the SEC hierarchy. Simon isn't just a talent, he is symbolic territory, and Alabama is now in serious contention to take him. Think about what that means from a recruiting perception standpoint. There is a version of this story where Alabama loses Simon to Tennessee, and the narrative writes itself. Alabama struggling to hold its borders, rival programs picking off elite prospects in their own backyard, the transition continuing to cost. But that's not the story being written right now. Right now, DeBoer and his staff have momentum in the Simon recruitment. Real momentum. The kind that comes from relationships built over time, from a pitch that has clearly resonated, from a program that has convinced one of the most coveted defensive prospects in the region that Alabama is still the destination. If this closes the way the current momentum suggests it might, this isn't just a recruiting win, this is a statement, and statements matter in recruiting. Perception is not a soft word in this world, it is a currency. It drives decisions, it shapes lists. It determines which programs get the first call and which ones get a polite no. For the last year and a half, Alabama's perception has been in flux, not broken, not destroyed, but uncertain in a way it hadn't been in a very long time. Simon changes that. A linebacker commitment out of Tennessee territory doesn't just add a player to the depth chart. It signals to every prospect in the SEC footprint that Alabama can still walk into rival ground and come out with the prize. That signal travels fast, and it travels far. Now here's where this gets deeper, because when you put Haven and Simon together, not as individual commitments, but as pieces of the same strategy, a pattern starts to emerge. Haven represents the future offensive identity, a quarterback who will command attention, attract weapons, and define what Alabama looks like at the skill positions for years to come. Simon represents the defensive statement, the proof that Alabama's standard hasn't dropped, that the program can still recruit against anyone, anywhere, including inside rival zip codes. Offense, defense, future, present. These aren't random. This is a two-sided argument being made to every recruit currently watching Alabama from the outside. Come here and you'll play with elite talent at both ends. Come here and you'll be part of something being rebuilt the right way. Come here and you'll win. Let's talk about what the media missed. Because the coverage of Alabama's transition has been, to put it plainly, incomplete. The narrative defaulted to the obvious storyline. Saban leaves. New coach arrives. Questions about sustainability. Questions about recruiting. Questions about whether the machine could keep running without the man who built it. That storyline was real. Those questions were legitimate. But the coverage never went deeper than the surface. Nobody was asking the harder question. Not can Alabama survive the transition, but rather, what if Alabama isn't just surviving it? What if Alabama is using it? Because transitions are also opportunities. The roster refreshes. The staff brings new relationships. The pitch evolves. New regions open up. New positions get prioritized. The program can adapt in ways that an entrenched dynasty sometimes can't. DeBoer came from Washington with a reputation for offensive brilliance and genuine relationship building. Those aren't soft skills in recruiting. Those are competitive advantages. And quietly, away from the hot takes and the rankings debates, those advantages have been compiling. There is a concept in program building that doesn't get enough attention. It's the difference between chasing rankings and building infrastructure. Chasing rankings means making moves that look good in February. Big names, blue chips, signing day headlines. Building infrastructure means making moves that hold up in November. Depth, versatility, positional architecture, players who fit the scheme and elevate the room around them. The programs that win consistently do the second thing. And from everything visible in Alabama's current recruiting trajectory, Haven at quarterback, Simon at linebacker, a class being constructed with intentionality rather than panic, this looks like the second thing. This looks like infrastructure. Here's a moment worth pausing on. After Saban's retirement, the immediate reaction from several major programs was essentially the same. If Alabama is going to be vulnerable, now is the time. Now is when you go after their territory. Now is when you recruit into their footprint with full confidence. Georgia pressed harder, Ohio State pressed harder, Tennessee pressed harder. Even programs from outside the traditional SEC footprint started making more aggressive moves into Alabama's recruiting base. And the first year of recruiting post-Saban had mixed results that seemed to validate that aggression. But here's what nobody accounted for. Alabama was watching all of it. Every program that pressed harder revealed something, where their relationships were strongest, which positions they were targeting, which recruits they were willing to invest maximum resources into. And a program with Alabama's infrastructure, its alumni network, its facility investment, its coaching continuity at key positions. That program doesn't just react to that information. It uses it. The Simon recruitment is a direct example of this. Tennessee pressed. Tennessee built momentum. Tennessee had every reason to feel confident about a prospect with deep ties to their territory. And then Alabama entered the picture with full force. Not out of desperation, not as a backup plan, as a calculated move into exactly the kind of battle that defines perception wars in the SEC. This is the game behind the game, the one the rankings don't capture, the one the signing day shows don't explain, the one that plays out slowly over months through relationships and conversations and visits that never make the news cycle. And right now, in that game, Alabama is making significant moves. Let's zoom out for a moment, because the Haven and Simon situations don't exist in isolation. They are part of a broader recruiting class that DeBoer is assembling with increasing momentum heading into the summer evaluation period. The summer matters enormously in recruiting. It's when prospects make official visits, when coaches make in-home visits, when commitments harden and new ones materialize. It's the period that often separates the classes that look good on paper from the ones that actually close elite talent. And Alabama is entering this summer with two things that money cannot buy and rankings cannot manufacture: momentum and narrative. Haven gives them a quarterback story to tell, a future centerpiece, a reason for every offensive skill prospect in the country to look at Alabama and see a program worth believing in. Simon, if the commitment comes, gives them a defensive statement, a symbolic victory, a proof of concept that the program has not ceded its SEC dominance. Those two things together change the conversation going into the summer in a way that no ranking movement could replicate. There's one more layer to this that deserves attention. The players already inside the Alabama program are watching this unfold too. Roster culture is real. The way current players see their program recruiting, the ambition of the targets, the battles being fought, the caliber of who is coming in alongside them, shapes how they feel about their own decision to be there. When current players see Alabama going into rival territory and winning, they don't just feel good about a recruiting win. They feel good about where they are. That feedback loop, players feeling pride and confidence in the program's direction, is one of the quietest but most powerful forces in college football. It affects how they perform, how they talk about the program to recruits they know, how they carry themselves in the building. Haven committed to a program whose current players will be his teammates and mentors. If those players are proud and excited about where things are going, that changes his experience from the moment he arrives. That's not an accident. That's culture building. So where does this leave us? Alabama, 1.5 years removed from the most significant coaching transition in modern college football history, is not where the doubters expected it to be. It is not in free fall. It is not losing its footprint. It is not watching helplessly as rival programs pick apart its recruiting base. It is building, methodically, strategically, with the patience of a program that has done this before and knows exactly what the early stages look like before the avalanche starts. Haven is the signal at quarterback, the gravitational anchor for the offensive class. Simon is the statement at linebacker, the symbolic reclamation of territory that was never truly lost. Together they represent something more important than any single commitment in any single class. They represent the emerging proof that what is being built in Tuscaloosa right now is not a transition, it is a continuation, a next chapter, not an ending. And the rest of the SEC, if it is smart, should stop treating Alabama like a program in decline, because the evidence is starting to point somewhere else entirely. The final question worth asking is the most important one. Was this the plan all along? Did DeBoer and his staff arrive in Tuscaloosa knowing exactly the kind of patience this moment required? Knowing that the first year would draw questions? Knowing that the media would default to the transition narrative? Knowing that rival programs would feel emboldened? And did they build anyway? Because if the answer to those questions is yes, and the current recruiting trajectory suggests it might be, then what looks like Alabama catching its footing is actually something more calculated. A program that let the doubt build around it while it quietly laid the pieces that would eventually make the doubt look foolish. That would be a very Alabama thing to do. And the summer of 2025 may be when the rest of college football finally starts to notice what was being built while nobody was looking. Now it is your turn. Is Alabama in the early stages of its next great run? Or is this momentum still too fragile to trust? Subscribe to the channel right now and tell us in the comments where you are watching from. Every single comment gets read. Drop your honest take below. Agree, disagree, push back. This conversation is worth having. And if this analysis made you think differently about what is happening in Tuscaloosa, share this video with someone who needs to hear it. The story is just getting started. But let's go back even further, because understanding what Alabama is doing right now requires understanding what Alabama has always done. Saban didn't build a dynasty by reacting to the moment. He built it by manufacturing moments years before they arrived, by identifying what the program needed at the position level, the depth level, the character level, and then going and getting it before anyone else understood why it mattered. That discipline was institutional. It lived inside the building. It shaped how everyone inside Alabama football thought about the game. And the idea that it simply evaporated because one man retired is, when you really examine it, a strange conclusion to reach. Institutions don't work that way. Processes don't disappear overnight. Standards that are embedded deeply enough survive transitions. DeBoer didn't walk into a blank building. He walked into one of the most developed football infrastructures in the history of the sport. Elite facilities, deep donor networks, a brand that every recruit in the country recognizes, a coaching staff with relationships spanning the entire recruiting footprint. The question was never whether Alabama had the tools to stay competitive. The question was whether the person leading the program understood how to use them. And every week that passes, that question is finding its answer. Here is something worth considering about the class of 2027. Most programs are not thinking that far ahead in a meaningful way right now. The recruiting calendar pushes everyone toward the near term. The class of 2026 dominates. Commitments, decommitments, ranking shifts. It all moves fast and loud. Working deep into 2027 with the intentionality Alabama is showing with Haven is a deliberate choice. An investment in a timeline that most programs treat as background noise. That tells you something important about how this staff sees the future. They are not building for next season, they are building for the next window. The kind of 3 to 4 year outlook that separates programs that peak once from programs that stay relevant for a decade. Haven is a cornerstone in that window, and the fact that Alabama is already working to build around him in a class most of the country is barely tracking suggests forward planning that has not been fully appreciated. There is also the matter of what Simon's potential commitment would mean for the defensive recruiting narrative. Defense is where Alabama's legacy runs deepest. The great Saban defenses were not just good, they were suffocating, generational, units that changed offensive game planning across the entire sport. Maintaining that defensive identity is one of the most important signals Alabama can send right now. Linebacker is a legacy position in this program. Names that played that role at Alabama carry weight. They carry history. When a prospect with Simon's profile considers that history, the NFL trajectory of linebackers who came through Tuscaloosa, the platform the program provides, the pitch writes itself. If Alabama closes on Simon, it doesn't just add a player. It affirms a defensive identity the program cannot afford to let drift. Other linebackers watch. Other defensive prospects notice. The standard gets reaffirmed. And Alabama's defensive pipeline, the envy of the sport for over a decade, starts looking like itself again. One more thing. The way a program responds to adversity reveals more about its future than any winning streak can. Alabama faced real adversity in this transition. Not catastrophic, not program-ending, but real. The kind that tests whether a standard is truly embedded or just propped up by one exceptional personality. And what is emerging from that test, the Haven commitment, the Simon momentum, the quiet architectural work on the 2027 class, suggests that the standard was never just one man. It was a culture. Cultures, when built correctly, outlast the individuals who created them. DeBoer is not Saban. He was never supposed to be. He was brought in to evolve the program, not replicate it. And the early evidence suggests that evolution is underway in a way the outside world has not fully registered yet. That gap between what is being built and what the narrative reflects is exactly where opportunities live. On the recruiting trail, in the perception wars, and against a conference that may have written a premature ending to a story that is nowhere near finished.